Hello. This year in our school-wide Title I plan, we outline a focus on improving student achievement through using the teach, assess, reteach cycle, the PAR cycle, and by getting feedback from coaches and administrators to help guide that process. The template and form that we have, our PAR data action plan, first of all, looking at that, you can see what PAR stands for: plan instruction, practice, assess, analyze, reteach, reassess. When we look at the form, we start off by looking at the meeting protocol. So regular meetings happening amongst teaching teams will follow this process. This can be led by one of our RTI coordinators. It could be led by a data coach, administrator. Eventually, none of those people will be needed, and this will be part of our regular routine. This goes over the steps, guidelines, norms. This year, we are going to be using for grades 2 to 8 Linkit data from our benchmarks to guide this process. So you can see how that is done here. Grades K and 1 will use different data. The steps will lead us to creating a PAR data action plan where you will see scores, baseline scores connected to one standard that students will have a reteach cycle focusing on. The reteach cycles will be for 30 days with a 15-day mark checking in assessment to determine if they should stay with this goal or have a new standard to focus on. So this information is completed by looking at your curriculum. What is it in the curriculum that you're covering? Now looking at the Linkit data and figuring out, okay, what's coming up here? What's here that makes sense for us to focus on, getting them ready for the content that we know that we're going to be teaching and we want them to be successful with. Now, this is not the only intervention you'll be doing with your students. This is just one, but this year for our school-wide Title I plan, this is the one that we're focusing on and documenting in this way. So you're going to look at the curriculum, look at your Linkit data, and determine from there what makes the most sense and tying this in. Now, will you also consider some of your module assessment data, some of your reading and writing assessments? Yeah, absolutely. But we do want to make sure it's connected to the standard that is supported by the data on Linkit. And part of that is because we're going to use progress monitoring through Linkit for the reassess at the 30-day mark. So on this document, you're putting the data in, you're going to put the strategies you're going to be using, and then a post-assessment reflection. But this document has a lot of questions and answers, and it also includes the timeline, which is what I want to focus on for right now. We can see here when we get to cycle 1, we have the data meetings happening currently right now, October 29th to November 10th. You'll get feedback either during those meetings if a coach is there or administrator is there. If not, we will give it to you on November 10th. And then the reteach cycle begins on November 11th. Originally, this was supposed to happen previously, but because of conferences, we shifted things around a little bit. So the reteach windows are typically 15 days. They're 14 here to allow us to have a little bit of a later start. It's important that you block off planning time between now and November 10th to make sure you're able to complete that form and have your plan in place for the reteach cycle. The formative assessment midway on December 2nd, that's your own assessment just to determine, and hey, are they getting it? That could be a do now, that could be an exit ticket, that could be a work that they're assigned in class. The second part of the reteach window is another 14 days from December 3rd through December 22nd. And The reassess on December 22nd is using the Linkit progress monitoring. And within Linkit, there are questions connected to that standard, just a few questions, not the whole benchmark, just a few questions connected to it. Then you will have a few days to then work on analyzing the data from after that first cycle. For this first round, this is going to be connected. We do have 2 PD days after winter break. So some time will be allotted there to work on this to plan out the second cycle as well. Moving on to the second cycle, you can see here, it's going to start, will be from January 6th to 26th, reassessment on the 26th, a midway, just a quick one. And then another 14 days, January 27th to February 15th. And then you're not going to do a progress monitoring here. This is the actual benchmark. So they will have their second benchmark on the 4 days from February 16th to 19th. Then you'll have time from February 22nd to 25th to analyze that data and come up with a plan for the next cycle. This is a similar process in cycle 3. Cycle 3 reassessment is progress monitoring. And then for cycle 4, it is the last benchmark of the year, the Form C. At this time, the data analysis will really be helpful driving our summer academy versus the next cycle for the following school year. So this will be for the summer academy. This document continues to have questions and answers that you may have about this process. We do have our RTI coordinators working with you to fill out these forms, make sure it makes sense, make sure it's valuable. You'll be getting feedback from coaches as well and guidance. Please, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. And the work here will be primarily done during flex time. Time after school in the 1:45 to 3:30 window is an option as well. At this point in time, that is not required, but if that works better for your schedule, that is fine as well. Thank you.